What's up, friends and family? My name is Will, and welcome to day 103. Yes, unfortunately, I have missed that perfect prime opportunity of making a video on day 100. I originally had planned to make something then, but then that day got a little too busy. So then day 101 came, then 2, and now it is 3. And I am finally finding time, even though it is short, to make a video here. It's not that I've been necessarily overly busy, it's just kind of poor timing on things kind of going on. So it's just been a bit hard to find the right time to make a video in the midst of all of this. But basically what I really want to talk about this week is driving in Japan. Just last week I started really actually driving in Japan, which kind of was a whole process in itself. I had to kind of go through a little kind of, not test, but kind of training session with someone from the school. Then they gave me permission to use the school's van. So I was able to do all that, and now I'm allowed to drive around a vehicle from the school that I'm allowed to rent out. Not for any additional fees or anything, but I'm not able to take it super far. There's all rules and regulations on what I'm allowed to do with it. But needless to say, I am starting to drive. My horizons are significantly wider, but still at the same time, it's interesting. There's a lot of barriers to it in the first place. Some of the first ones that are very, very noticeable is that in Japan, you not only drive on the opposite side of the road, but you also drive on the opposite side of the car. So if in America you drive on the left side of the car, you're now driving on the right side of the car. And if you're driving on the right side of the road in America, you're driving on the left side of the road in Japan. So it's literally flip-flopped. You will occasionally see American vehicles or vehicles with the steering wheel on the left side of the car in Japan. I think that is actually more common to see in Japan than it would be opposite in the States, which is a bit odd because America is a far larger country, but maybe that's why, because the people that actually have those kinds of vehicles are a bit more few and far between. But I would say that the process itself has had some hiccups with that. Thankfully, I have not hit anything or done anything that I'm man, I really shouldn't have driven that way. But there were definitely a couple times on some smaller roads without any lines in the middle, or thankfully no one else really around. My brain kind of started to autopilot off to the right side of the street, and I have to quickly correct myself and say, no. Drive on the left. But other than that first kind of training day that I had, where I was really just kind of almost backseat driving for myself, just saying to myself the entire time, left side of the street, left side of the street, left side of the street. I really have kind of gotten a lot better with it. It comes a lot more naturally than one would necessarily think. It's kind of just relearning how to ride a bicycle. But otherwise, it's not too hard of a process to do that. It's super nice having my horizons open a little bit further now. I took a trip with just me and a friend the other day to the nearby Costco. That is a big thing in Japan, is that there's these Costcos. We have them in America as well, but I think they're viewed a little differently in Japan. They're not necessarily the American store, but a little more so that is where you can get anything and everything, and it's just so fantastic. I would say that it's kind of viewed the same way in Japan as Walmart's would be in the States, but of course at a much higher quality. Costco here in Japan, it's, I believe, exactly the same as it would be in the States. In fact, some of the products are even the same. I ended up getting a magic bullet while I was there. So with that being said, yeah, some of the products are even the same, which is very, very nice. It's easier to go in there and know what I'm looking for and what I'm shopping for, to buy for even as simple as like recipes, or if it is products that I could use with stuff like that, then it's a lot nicer. As a foreigner myself, I would kind of call it as the American store. I wouldn't say it's an import store necessarily by any means. It's as much an import store as like normal grocery stores are back in the States. Like you'll see stuff imported from other countries, like cheeses from Italy or something, but it's not necessarily seen as like an import store per se. It just happenstance is some products are from out of country. But yes, in the same sense that Costco is back in the States, things are sold in wholesale. They're decent values. Of course, everything's like 10 bucks a piece anyways, but you are getting a bunch in each purchase. But yes, so it can add up very, very fast. I spent probably a lot more than I originally thought or intended to, but that's fine. Some of the stuff was things like the magic bullet that I can use for a while. Other things were just food that I was like, oh, I really want this. Like I've been craving this, or, ooh, I wasn't craving this, but now that I see it, I am. So it's super nice to be able to drive and go to places like that. On the other end of the spectrum, I have throughout my time here seen like random like Japanese restaurants and stores, and I'm like, ooh, I want to go to that. That would be nice. Or maybe it's somewhere nearby me that would be nice to be able to go to without that long of a walk. So like maybe middle of the night, I'm like, oh man, I really, really want McDonald's. It's shorter of a walk to the rental car from the school, rent that out real quick, take it to McDonald's, get that, rather than walking to McDonald's, which would take me probably an hour one way. So with things like that, the car definitely immediately expands my horizons significantly, and it's super exciting for me. Has my life necessarily changed too much since then? Not really. It's super nice knowing that it's there. And frankly, maybe at some point I will want to try to buy a car here, but that's like if I'm staying here longer term. Hard to say currently. But needless to say, having a car is something I really took for granted back in the States, but now here it's like, wow, yeah, a lot more things are closer, but the things that are further away feel just so much further away when you can't take a 10-minute drive there. But yes, you can cut down an hour walk into like a 10-20 minute drive if you know the right way to get there, and it's on the right roads. So needs to say, that's a very, very nice thing to have. It's really kind of come with some of its own challenges, but those have really not been all that horrible once I've like really started getting behind the wheel and just kind of taking charge of it. But I'm going to keep this video short this week, trying to kind of stay underneath that 10-minute mark for this video. Again, with all the kind of awkward timing of things going on this week. So I'm going to kind of end it there with a thank you to everyone who did watch this week's video. Hopefully it kind of gave you a little bit of an insight onto kind of what foreigners might think or feel when they first start kind of driving in Japan. I'm sure I could have made a much longer video about this and just kind of milked it to death, but I think saying what I did, simple, sweet, and kind of to the point, hopefully is going to be helpful for some people, especially if you're kind of looking at areas outside of Tokyo. Inside Tokyo, you wouldn't need a car. But I want to finish extending that thanks to anyone who watched. If you are subscribed, if you have joined the friends and family that are my subscribers, thank you very much. If you are new to this channel, I try to publish videos weekly, even if they are short and sweet like this, kind of give you an insight, kind of look into my own life. I always say I'm going to post more than that, and I always plan and hope to, but then life gets in the way. So hopefully, eventually, sometime down the road, maybe soon, I'll start kind of posting a little bit more consistently, like often. I was going to say oftenly, but that's not a word, I don't think. So I'll leave it there. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope y'all have a great week.